Well, there's some great positive news and it's got to do with the semiconductor industry. According to a recent study, by 2026 in India, the semiconductor sector can generate at least 1 million jobs. Yes, that's a huge amount, and which is why it's emerging as a positive growth story as far as India is concerned. Now, what are semiconductors? Well, as the name suggests, it talks about conduction, it talks about electricity, it talks about computers, but partial in nature. It's generated from minerals where India is considered to be quite relatively rich in, for example, seawater. There's gold, there's silver, there's aluminum, there is zinc, there is bauxite, and so on and so forth. So essentially, when the Prime Minister chaired a meeting of the Semicon, it was a conference which took place in September earlier this year, he made a very pertinent point. He said that the chips may be down, but India has much to offer to the world. In fact, India is one of the few countries in the world which does have a potential for developing the semiconductor sector. And the Prime Minister gave an example of how India has now emerged as an exporter and a manufacturer of 5G mobiles as well. And if India can show that growth story, it can emerge, because there was always, as we all know, a little bit of cynicism about us as far as the technology sector is concerned. The Prime Minister made the larger point that if we could show it there, then of course we can show it in the semiconductor industry as well. Well, there are a handful of firms which are actually involved. There is a Semicon, which is a kind of an association of all those who are involved in the semiconductor sector, and this plays a very, very important role, and that is the reason why the Prime Minister said, I'm very, very optimistic that India can offer and India can do it. But there is a problem here. But before I talk about the problem, another quick point or nugget of information is that there are various facets of the semiconductor industry. You know, it has got to do with technology, engineering, on-site training. So on these different spectrums, it can generate jobs, and the figures can go up to 3 to 2 lakhs annually or over 2 years as well. Now, the only problem and the hitch over here is talent. The pool of talent is limited, but this is something which is not applicable only to India but also to abroad as well. And it is believed that this is a kind of training which is really required, and why India would have to play a very important role. And in fact, during this Semicon conference, one of the main points which was raised by people to be trained, either they go abroad, get trained, or even right over here back in India. Internship, and we all know about the Prime Minister's internship program. This is also one of the main reasons it was felt that those industries which are already there in the semiconductor space, they can provide quick internship depending on the talent and depending on the need. But I think the big story or the big takeaway from here, of course, is the fact that the semiconductor sector is growing. And for a country which is often dismissed off as being third world, not developing, doesn't have the technology, well, we are clearly showing to the world that this is not true about us at all.